I'm resident of Colorwood for YouTube, Joel Sands. That's my buddy Patrick McCray. That's my buddy Alan Gallant. That's my buddy Daniel Culver. We're here to talk the movie Man Flint, starring James Coburn. This movie came out in 1966. Actually, January 16th, 1966. Its budget was $525 million, 12.95 million. So there you go. This movie made a lot of money. Directed by Daniel Mann, screenplay by Hal Finberg and Ben Starr. Story is by Hal Finberg, produced by Sal David. Lee J. Cobb is in this, obviously. Edward Mulhare, if you don't know who that is, he was one of the protagonists for Knight Rider.
Devin.
Yep, in the 80s. So, guys, when did you first see Man Flint? Alan, you first.
Oh my God. Again, this made the rounds on television or early cable. I must have seen it in the 80s sometime. Knew about it from years before, but never actually got a chance to see it. I was enamored of the poster art for years before I actually saw the film. So yeah, sometime probably in the early 80s.
Yeah. Patrick, when did you first see this movie?
Same timeline as Alan. I've seen it referred to in books and things about spy fiction and the sort of the super agent kind of stuff. And but it was since it only spawned one sequel, it didn't have a very deep media hold, and until it would come up, but I hadn't seen it. And so when I got to, which was early 80s, I think when I had access to some VHS tapes, and there it was, and the rest was history.
Daniel, when did you see this movie, man?
Today.
Very nice. Very good. There you go. I saw this movie as a teenager on Turner Classic Movies. It played with Fistful of Dynamite, which is another James Coburn movie. So there you go. Now, Lee J. Cobb is a pleasant surprise in this movie because I mostly see him in dramas, but he's funny in this.
He's a great yeller. He yells better than almost any actor of his generation.
He sort of reminds you of those bad police chiefs in the Dirty Harry movies that are always yelling around.
Yep.
You're gunning your badge, Callahan. You're suspended.
Mm-hmm.
I've had it with your lone wolf ways, Callahan. Okay.
It feels like that too. And this is before all that too. I mean, this is like months before the premiere of Dark Shadows and all that shit. I mean, it's just like, holy hell, they do a really good job of taking the spy genre and not completely turning on it, but having a lot of fun with it.
I consider these two movies just a little superior to the Matt Helm series. But I like the Matt Helm series very much. But I and these films, I think they're just put together better. The sets are better. The whole thing.
There's an air, dare I say it, of sophistication.
Yes. Sophisticated arrogance.
Yes. Well, just cheerful self-appreciation.
Yes, absolutely.
Isaac Asimov would have called it.
And also, Coburn was able to do a lot of his own fight stunts. He was studying and continued to study with Bruce Lee off and on for several years. And he had an angularity about him that's absolutely unique. His physicality, just, because he's all arms and legs anyway. So it was kind of fun.
Yeah. Yeah, there were a lot of people who were students of Bruce Lee, so it makes sense. What do you think was, because again, this Coburn was when he was a lot younger, what do you think was the most challenging aspect of making this movie, guys?
Well, some of the scenes, particularly with the action scenes with all the steam and stuff going on.
Oh God, that had to be having on the cameras.
I'm sure somebody got a few busted beaks and knuckles out of that in the stunt crew because they couldn't see what they were doing half the time. But it was, I mean, it was very effective, the final product. But that would have been physically challenging to do for sure, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. With James Coburn in the lead here, great actor. What do you think? Because to me, this is his most known role, in my opinion. What do you guys think?
Well, up to that point, I think it certainly was his most.
Yeah.
You know, later on in his career, he became known for much more dramatic roles and actually award-worthy stuff. Towards the end of his life, he did some amazing movies. But yeah, this is definitely very well known. It's one of those, you know, that trademark grin and swagger that he has in a lot of his movies.
This sets up President's Analyst, I think, really well. I see almost a natural evolution towards that character.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think he's always had this unique talent to just be so damn entertaining, no matter what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's this, whether it's The Last of Sheila, whether it's the Carrie treatment, you know, he's always on. And I mean, he performs his ass off. Even like when you watch a Fistful of Dynamite is almost a satire in every way. And at least of the Sergio Leone westerns.
Mm-hmm.
And it's well done, and it's smartly done by Coburn, who does a great job of playing this character who can just blow shit up seemingly with the snap of his fingers almost.
Yes, he's got his little what 86 weapon lighter there.
Yeah.
Well, let's see a sideshow remakes replica of that.
Absolutely.
Like most of the spy spoofs, this one does have its share of gags about it.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah. What did you guys think of all the cool sets we got?
They spent a reasonable amount of money on this production, I think.
Oh, it was a huge. Yeah, it was a big movie.
Yeah.
There are, but also though, 20th Century Fox had a hell of a lot, meaning a hell of a backlot.
Yes.
And it feels like people were out for summer, and so they were able to just get what they wanted to. The most lavish sets I can think of are his apartment and the which is amazing, and the island itself.
Yes, all of the machine work at the island is very elaborate.
And that was probably either a water treatment plant or a brewery that they shot that in. I know Julie often asks, did they shoot this on location? Did they shoot this in the soundstage? Well, kind of yes with that, with to both.
Yeah. Yeah, you could tell there's like a happy mixture of that, but I do like all the sets we do get. They're very well done, and they look amazing. I definitely love how when they have him in the coffin and have them doing this stuff with his hand.
Oh yeah, I mean when he's doing
Oh,
another one I thought was particularly hilarious is when he's at this Casbah type bar, and he goes in to the bathroom and he takes out what his name is, Werner, whatever the hell his name is. I can't remember his name, but he citations him. He says, yes, I remember so and so. Nazi youth escaped from Nuremberg. The whole thing. It's like old friends, you know.
Not to be confused with, Adolf R. Hitler,
right?
Who is a vacuum salesman.
But and the fact that he takes this disgusting looking one of those reusable towel things, and he walks out the door after he reverses his jacket, and the jacket suddenly looks like a Nehru jacket, and his turban is bright white. It's no longer dirty. It's pretty hilarious what he does with that. And then he shoots the place up in typical Coburn style with arms and legs everywhere.
Yeah. I love how, because they're just cheering for our Man Flint, and it's all part of this fun little gag because he's the best spy in the whole world, and that's exactly what you're supposed to get. And here's the thing, in every way you do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Part of this movie, he comes out of Lee J. Cobb's character's office. Oh, you need to work together. You need to work with people. And he comes out and he takes out these two guards. He shoots them. He goes, see, these aren't the real guards. Here, see, look. And he uses Lee J. Cobb's finger.
Yeah. No, he's a complete. He's got, obviously he God knows how he made it, but he made a lot of money as a spy for the government at one point because he actually, like, he's got all this equipment, he's got his private jet, he's got all this stuff, and it's like, no, we're not going to tell you how I made all this money, but
No.
I've got it, and don't worry about me, I can do it all by myself.
Step aside.
That's right, which is of course, one of the conflicts he has with Lee J. Cobb's character. I've mentioned this. The sound effect of the red phone was used in Austin Powers films as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the things that Mike Myers really glommed onto from watching all those old spy spoof movies was that sound effect.
Yeah. We're amongst spy films, like, because there's a lot of spy movies, but this, out of the ones that are like the greatest to have ever been made, where does this rank for you guys?
Well, it's a spoof for one thing. It's not a straight spy.
Right.
But in terms of spy spoofs, I think it must have been underrated in its time. They only made 2 of them, made 3 Matt Helm films, and they were going to make a 4th.
Well, they did make 4.
Yeah.
They didn't make a 5th.
That's right. They didn't make a 5th. That's right. Because what's her name got killed, and that was the end of the. He thought he'd lost his will to make any more of those.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm not that good at ranking things, to be honest.
Yeah, this is pretty high ranking for one of the spoofs.
Yeah.
I would say it's top 3. It's top 3 for me.
Well, I would say its best part is just that first reel. That first reel doesn't stop, and it's something inventive every minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, Jewel, I want you to listen carefully. You are not a pleasure unit.
Oh, yeah, that's great.
That's the great thing about this movie is the screenplay is really economical too, even though the sets aren't. But the screenplay is. It establishes everything without a lot of long drawn out bloviation of situation. It's all just established a lot of it's established in the action or the response of people to the name Derek Flint. Things like that. They do it cleverly and economically. So by, like you say, the end of the first reel, we know everything we need to know about Flint and his relationship to these other people.
Yeah.
They do a really good, though this is a spoof, just like they did a really good job with the previous movie we reviewed. They do a really good job of creating a really solid antagonist.
Mm-hmm.
That's the great thing about spoofs. Like, they do have really over-the-top antagonists to go with the over-the-top protagonists. Because
Sure.
You need it.
You have to. I mean, like, at one point, Mulhair's character is suddenly wearing an iron fist. Where did it come from?
Oh, boy, yeah. How many times?
See, I sort of wonder because the Iron Fist, I do think a little series called Inspector Gadget got inspiration. That's how we got Dr. Claw, I think.
Well, I mean, the Iron Fist thing's been used. I mean, it was used in Enter the Dragon, and it's been used in various things. It is a super villain thing, no doubt about it, in films. But in this case, I think it's almost like an extension of his pomposity, because it has his coat of arms on the fist. I mean, it's like, it's my Iron Fist. It wasn't, created for anybody else. But yeah.
We did only get to our Man Flint movies. For Matt Helm movies, there's been a lot of spy spoofs throughout. There was even a MacGyver spoof called MacGruber.
Mm-hmm. Spy Hard. That's another
Spy
one.
Hard, yeah.
Well, that sounds interesting.
Spy Hard.
It is.
It's interesting you guys mentioned a sequel to this too, because I think I actually saw that suggested on Facebook, because you could put like watching a movie, and I noticed like with this they had 2 options, so I wonder if the second one was the sequel.
In Like Flint, which is a play on words over In Like Flynn, Errol Flynn, action hero of the 30s and 40s, underage Lothario of the 50s, but yeah, Errol Flynn, In Like Flynn was the thing, because he was an action hero. He played Robin Hood, and he played all of these swashbuckling characters in those time periods. So In Like Flint is a play on that, and I like it. It's In Like Flint has the idea of the network of women spies and characters and so on.
There she goes.
Yes, yeah.
That's not going to happen to
Yeah. Producer Saul David had just made Von Ryan's Express for Fox, and Our Man Flint would be his second film for the studio. David told the press that Flint would be an entirely different cup of tea to James Bond, a sensitive and sensible individual loyal to his own code, which he is. That makes sense. To an arbitrary entirely, which we might call our side. Coburn had appeared in a number of key supporting roles, particularly The Americanization of Emily, A High Wind in Jamaica, but Our Man Flint was his first lead in a feature. His casting was announced in December 1964, and filming began in February of 65. David said
Hollywood was a tough place back then.
Yeah, it really was.
I mean, yeah, because he'd done like 8 or 10 films as a supporting actor.
Yeah.
By the time he finally got his lead, and it was clear in some of those films that he had the stuff.
Yeah, because when you see him in The Magnificent Seven, my God.
Yeah, he's got the stuff, no doubt.
Yeah. Let's see. Coburn later said, I credit the producer Sal David for the Flint films. He was responsible for the whole thing. He also cast me in the role, of course. It was a spoof of Bond and all the other spy films released at the time. What I liked about Flint was that he was his own man. He trained himself. We tried to work for that theme. It must have worked. By the way, locations. Flint's apartment is located in the San Remo in New York City. The skyline projected out the window of the apartment is the Central Park Southern on 59th Street. The interiors of Galaxy Island were filmed at the Scattergood Generation Station. Okay.
An electrical station, probably.
Yeah, in Los Angeles, California.
Yeah.
Yes. Let's see. Soundtrack. Jerry Goldsmith is here for your score. So here's a question for you guys: if we ever, and I mean ever, got another Flint movie, who would you cast?
Well, if you told me 10 years ago, I might have cast George Clooney.
He'd be right.
He might be just a little past it now. I mean, he could play a less physical version of it now, probably. But yeah, and you want somebody, I think, that has that physicality that he has, because it just oozes man of action. the way he
Oh, definitely.
moves, all of this stuff. So tough. Well, Brad Pitt, I suppose. Even though he's older now, he still can. I mean, he's still a pretty physical actor. He can, if you look at the work that he does in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, it's clear that he can still do
God, yeah.
fight sequences. So, I mean, that's a possibility, I suppose. Yeah, I'm sure there are others that could fit the bill. I'm just not thinking of them right off the top of my head right now. But those, like I say, 10 years ago, one possibly now could do it. You want somebody this box office to do it too, because you want it to succeed. You absolutely want it to succeed. But that still excludes somebody like Timothy Chalamet, who's too young for the role.
Oh, one punch, he'd be in the next movie.
Exactly.
They'd punch him into the next reel.
He's too young.
Really
he's underdeveloped. He's built like a scarecrow. He's a lovely actor. I like much of his work. I liked him in the Bob Dylan film. I thought he did a great job. But
yeah.
But yeah, no. That generation of actors would not be able to do
it. Yeah. 10 years ago, I'm with you. I would have cast George Clooney too. He's a good actor. I'll tell you who I'd still put in this role, because he's still young enough to play it. It's Josh Hartnett.
Okay.
Very, very talented actor.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, and he's not too old enough. He's not too old to play Flint either. So,
right. I would say somebody like Robert Downey Jr., but I think he's too sly almost.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's just too sharp. Because there has to be sort of an earnestness about Flint, as well as the savoir-faire that he has. I mean, there's certain aspects of the role that Robert Downey Jr. could play. Certainly the fact that women love him and he's comfortable around them, and that kind of thing. But it'd become too much like Tony Stark, I'm afraid, if he played the role. So.
That's true.
Yeah.
Do you think I know he might be a little too old, so maybe, but you think Michael Keaton could play him?
Michael Keaton playing those kind of roles, he has a little bit of menace that Flint doesn't really have. Flint has capability, and he can do the job, and he can kill the bad guys, but he doesn't really ooze the menace that Keaton does, say, playing Batman or Vulture in particular.
And even like when you watch Michael Keaton, even in a comedy, and he's funny, don't get me wrong,
but he
still has a menace to him in those comedies.
He's tense.
What is it? The one where he's working in the 80s, I forget it.
Mom.
Yeah. Also Duplicity.
Yeah.
Even in that, like, he's funny as hell, but he has that sort of menacing quality. It's like he's funny, but you're intimidated.
He's got an intensity about the way that he goes about his business, which I like, but I don't know that it's right for Flint.
Now, if he were healthy, the guy I would say for Flint, because he is funny, it's Bruce Willis. But if he were,
he's not healthy anymore.
Again, 15 years ago.
Yeah,
absolutely. Because I mean, he's played that kind of character. Hudson Hawk was kind of that character, and
Hudson Hawk was one of the best like crime spy spoofs.
I know. It was a total box office dud at the time, but I think that was because of the other things were happening at the same time that was happening. But and they may not have been ready to see Bruce that way, because he'd done several other films in the genre, but not like that.
I
like Hudson Hawk.
My parents I was ready for that because my parents showed me Moonlighting.
Yeah, Moonlighting. See, that's Bruce Willis' savoir-faire there. He's really slick and sharp, and like a Flint would be.
Yeah, my mom was a big Bruce Willis fan. She showed me Moonlighting right after I saw Die Hard.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's interesting. Because it's
Yeah.
a different
Yeah.
thing of Willis, and then you watch Hudson Hawk, which is fun. It's fun.
Yeah, it is.
It's
It's different.
You ever see Harlem Nights, Alan?
Oh my God, yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Foulest language of any buddy
Yes.
film I've ever watched, and
Yeah.
it is kind of a buddy film. Obviously it's African American buddy film, but it's hilarious. It's absolutely hilarious.
You ever see Harlem Nights?
I don't think so.
It's great. It's Eddie Murphy. Okay, it's Red Fox is in it. So you're going to get some choice language out of him.
Oh yeah, that's true.
But also some of the characters. What's her name? The Della Reese.
Yeah.
Is hilarious in it.
Yeah.
And she's got a mouth on her in it too. So they're all like screaming at each other throughout most of the film. So it's like
it's one of my favorite top 3 Eddie Murphy films.
It's I love it. It's hilarious. It's hilarious.
And the fact you get him and the late Richard Pryor.
Absolutely.
Forget about
both at the top of their game.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. Actually, another spoof. I think it's considered a spy spoof, but I might be wrong. I haven't seen it in years, but I remember them being good when I watched them as a kid. But yeah, if I remember correctly, the Austin Powers movies are good.
They are totally spy spoofs. You put that right in that category. Absolutely. I mean, they're goofier than most of the spy spoofs, but they're supposed to be. So
that's the thing. Like, we got a lot of spoofs. There were Austin Powers was one of them. I think when you get into horror, you get into the scary movies, which are super spoofs.
Absolutely, horror.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. Every genre, I think, has had satire and spoof.
Yeah. I mean, for example, look at Deadpool and Wolverine. It's
totally.
Yeah. So, I mean, it has action in it, but in a lot of ways too, it's comedy.
Yeah, it's spoofing most of the MCU. The last one in particular.
Yeah, it really is.
Come back, Patrick.
It was so peaceful. It was so peaceful. I nodded off. There was such silence in my home. And I thought, oh, it must be over. And then I looked, it said 59, 58. And I thought, no, it isn't. It's not Christmas yet. The ghosts have not visited.
I feel you, dude. I got up at like 6:30 this morning, and I was like, this is at least 40 minutes before I normally get up, because my classes aren't until 9:30, and I'm like 40 minutes to class. So I know you get up early just about every morning, but
yes, sometimes I get up the day before early.
Yes.
So
keep going. Yeah.
What's some of you guys' favorite scenes from this movie? Daniel, you first.
Oh, I'll go with the one with the the one where in the hotel, because that was pretty cool. And I also liked when he beat up that Nazi or whatever you want to call him. Yeah, that was cool.
It's very satisfying nowadays.
Yes, punch a Nazi.
That's the thing too. I was actually thinking about that too. You know how sorry to interrupt you, but yeah, you know how there's that thing about the president where he's pretending to be president. I was actually thinking if that was made today, and no offense to anyone that supports Trump, but imagine he was impersonating the president. He has a really obviously fake wig and a fake tan on.
Well, that would make him look like Trump.
That would, yes. 1 out of 2 ain't bad. Yeah. I mean, I suppose. I mean, why not? As long as it's not forbidden by the state Stasi at any point in time.
Oh yeah, people are so gonna cancel me now, but I don't really care.
No, nobody's gonna cancel you. Don't worry about
that. Patrick, what's your favorite scenes?
I think the first job interview, sort of the one in where Kramer's finally visiting him, and Caesar has him by the hand, and I mean just that the nudes disappearing and the insouciance of that guy.
Yes.
And the dialogue, what are you doing going to Moscow? You went to Moscow for a ballet?
No, I'm
No,
going
but
to
to see what to teach.
his competency outstrips him by miles on every
It does.
whip. It's just like it really establishes why the so-called boss is so insecure around him, because he can't compete with his competency.
The only thing that would have been funnier, more amusing, would have been if it had been Jim Neighbors playing the part. No, Sergeant Carter, to teach.
To teach.
Wow.
Pile.
Little known fact, Jewel. Gomer's middle name was Steaming.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh my God.
Which is
Oh,
how
yeah,
he
the part-
get the role, actually.
Oh yeah, and the part where he says like he tells the women you're not a pleasure unit. That scene's good too.
And of course, she acts
that's
like
again,
she
we have
still
to keep
is,
telling
but only
Jewel.
him. he just turns them into pleasure units back to him. That's what he does.
Jolie, am I a pleasure unit?
Oh,
I don't know if she'll get that reference though.
Yeah,
We don't want to answer that.
I'm sure she'll get it just fine. No, I'll tell you who I wish they would have put as the antagonist of this movie, which was Don Adams. I mean, Get Smart
been fun.
Would have been fun to
Yeah.
see.
He was doing Get
would
Smart
have
at
been
the
a different
time.
character. Joel would have been a different character.
Yeah.
I know, but still.
Well,
I mean,
I'm asking if.
Yeah, he would have been the antagonist, and I think it'd have been fun to see Don Adams.
Sure.
As,
I think they could have just transplanted Bernie Coppell's character from Chaos right directly
Siegfried.
in this movie.
Little known fact: Don Adams and I were born on the same day.
Cool.
Nice.
Different
Nice.
years, but the same day.
Different years, yeah.
Yes.
Same
Nice.
day as Rod Steiger, Thomas Jefferson. There's somebody else who was good. There you go.
Mhm.
Oh, Lyle Wagner.
Yeah. Lyle Perfect.
Very, very nice. Very
Yes.
nice. My favorite scene is when they're cheering for him. Our Man Flint, and then by the end he goes, "I'm going to go send a thing to outer space." I'm like, and he's telling, like Ginzer said, he's going, "Everybody, you are not a pleasure unit. You're not a pleasure unit." It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
It's like he can break the spell with his charm. And it's,
Yeah.
problems.
I mean, basically, it's right there's your one of your biggest Bond spoofs throughout the movie, because Bond was so charming.
Yes, absolutely. But actually, Flint is even better with women than he is. I mean, he's totally better. He's like, I don't have to worry about these women betraying me because my charisma will keep them from doing it. Where Bond sometimes had to side eye these ladies, even if he slept with them. So
The things he does for England.
that's right. For the Queen.
So that's for the Queen. Let's see. Obviously, favorite character Flint. I mean, do we need to ask or?
Oh yeah, that's true.
No.
There are some great characters.
Not unless you have commies on the show.
That's right. Uh-oh.
Yeah. For real Americans, like Flint.
We're like Flint. Fly the Flint flag.
I'd love a flag. Oh God, what would a Flint flag be? It'd be fantastic.
Yes.
It was nice to see Lee J. Cobb in something slightly different than his usual. Because he's usually he's usually a tough guy in a movie.
Yes, it's true. I would love to have been a flying.
He's a tough guy in this
casting.
Well, yeah, but he's also
that's what
funny.
makes him work.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's funny and tough in this. He's not just this overbearing antagonist.
No, he blusters, but he's funny doing it rather than serious doing it. Yeah.
It's a lot different than 12 Angry Men or something.
Yes.
Like that. It's really well done by Lee. Lee J. Cobb was a hell of an actor for sure.
Yes, he was. Absolutely. He goes back. As a matter of fact, Lee J. Cobb was part of the tail end of the group theater. So he was with some of the heavyweights, the stage heavyweights back in the day, in the late 30s.
Harold Clurman and the like.
Yes, all of those. They ended up nitpicking each other into feuds because of their various teaching styles, but they were quite something together for a few years.
Yeah.
What do you? Here's something you guys maybe can answer for me. What do you think made the decision for everybody to say, okay, this is the right time to start spoofing the spy genre? Because that was a lot.
You get to a certain level of saturation and popularity.
Yeah.
And then you can start playing off of things. First of all, they really started it on television almost immediately. With like by the time the second James Bond movie was out, and the third one was coming down the chute, they were doing, Get Smart, for instance. So I think they realized that they had something. And the studios, of course, were both into television and film at that point in time. So let's do some films. The Matt Helm stuff, Flint stuff, obviously Casino Royale.
Yeah.
So
they were used to turning this stuff around pretty fast anyway with the Western. And this had the added virtue of, if they really had to, not having to build period sets.
Right, exactly. Once they tooled it up, they could start producing stuff pretty quickly.
Yeah, with your Westerns, you had, let's see, Terrence Hill, Henry Fonda, My Name is Nobody, Blazing Saddles.
A lot of Westerns.
Yeah, a lot of Westerns. But with the spy genre, it was just so fun and easy to do. The Matt Helm movies are an art form in themselves. We reviewed all 4 on this channel, and they're fun to watch. I wish we would have got a 5th. But we didn't.
Matt Helm got a 5th in almost every movie.
Yes, he did.
And consumed it entirely by the end of the thing.
Blues humor. Yeah.
He consumed it during and after. I give this, obviously, this movie's a 10. You can't.
For its genre, it is. I would agree. It is.
I have a suggestion for Wednesday. It's not a comedy, though.
Okay.
Neither
was this.
Let's
documentary.
Let's do the original War of the Worlds.
Oh yeah, let's.
The 50s one.
Yeah, for Wednesday.
The George Powell.
For Wednesday. Yeah. For Wednesday.
Oh, that would have actually been that would have been a good suggestion the other day because because Orson Welles did a World of Worlds broadcast in the 30s.
That's correct. That was that was the original media version, I think, outside of the actual book that was
the book, yeah.
So and that did cause a bit of a stir. Some of it was self-created because I think that Wells wanted to create that kind of stir with it.
Professional bullshit blizzard.
Oh man,
Yeah, I did hear a lot of it was exaggerated. I know there was a panic.
It was incredibly well done. it was really well.
Yeah.
The
special effects are terrific.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I've actually listed that. For those who have it, I recommend it. It's pretty good.
Yeah. Well, you got to remember too, Orson Welles was so good. When you listen to he did 1 year of The Shadow on radio, and to me, he does an amazing Lamont Cranston. But his best
baritone voice really worked well with that character. So
yeah.
But he did a lot of radio at this time to actually finance Mercury Theater stuff.
Yeah. He was putting money in a lot. Yeah.
He's putting a lot of his own money into production for the live productions that he was doing that he really made his boy wonder reputation off of. But of course, doing all that radio meant he was running back and forth from studio to theater to studio to theater. He literally he talked about it in several interviews that he had a whole system of taxi cabs and drivers and all this stuff that knew when to pick him up to spirit him off to the next, radio show or whatever, and then bring him back for a rehearsal or whatever. Incredibly,
really amazing year.
Yeah.
Even the president of the United States at that time made a comment about he's the only person who actually puts money into a government project.
Yeah. He worked incredibly hard during those years. I mean, he was he was driven by his own ambition. There's no doubt about it. He wanted to be the boy wonder. He wanted to be known as the boy genius of the theater and so on. So, but that's also when he formed his company of players that ended up in several of his films.
Yeah.
Was
well,
the
a lot of the
Mercury
people
Players.
too. A lot of the people too you hear with him on the radio are people who are working for him too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. In the shadow and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, he got people work as well.
Yeah, absolutely. The late great Orson Welles. So yeah, Wednesday night, guys, War of the Worlds. So I'll see.
Was that on a streaming service? So go ahead.
It's on National Archives. I'll send it to you guys.
Okay.
Great.
I've seen it before, but it's still pretty good. I need to rewatch it anyway.
Yeah, great movie. Is there anything you guys want to add before we go?
I think sometime in the next week or so we should do In Like Flint so that we complete the series.
Yeah, I was going to suggest that.
Yeah.
Oh, is that streaming anywhere?
So we can do that. No, we can do this first, and then we can maybe do that.
We could do. Well, if you guys are available Thursday, we could do In Like Flint. I mean,
Thursday night.
Yeah, Thursday night.
Yeah, let's do that.
I can do that.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right. Link to Patrick McCray's Dark Shadows Daybook about is going to be in the description box. Link to Alan Gallant's YouTube channel, Collins Sport After Dark, is going to be in the description box. Link to Daniel Culver's YouTube channel, Killenberg, is going to be in the description box. You guys have a good night. Be safe.
If you too.